So my name's ZERED Bassett. I'm from here. We're in Chatham, Cape Cod, Massachusetts. And welcome to my space. I started skating when I was probably around 12. There was a handful of people to skate with. Winters are tough. That's not right? Yeah. It's probably around 12. We didn't have a skate park yet. I was skating with some of the older guys in town. They'd bring like a jump ramp to a parking lot. There was like a little metal curb. And then about a year later, we got our first skate park. I definitely got super hooked, and that was kind of the beginning of it all. The skate park was super close to my house, so I'd be there sun up, sundown. Yeah, I just fell in love with it. So yeah, about 14-ish, I kind of started leaving here and making it to Boston. My first board sponsor was 16 Skateboard. First sponsor ever was skate shop. Yep, boarding house, skate shop. Luckily, those dudes were real skateboarders and knew what was going on. They kind of took me under their wing. I'd go, my mom would drop me off at the skate shop, and I'd be there all day. And they're like, "So, is your mom gonna pay us for babysitting your ass?" Like, I'd be there all the time. So they started kind of taking me. There was a big skate park in Rhode Island, in Newport, Rhode Island, called Skaters Island, and I started driving there once I got my license, all the time. And that kind of led into Boston, and just slowly kind of went from Chatham, this small town, and slowly met people at the skate park, and they were like, "Oh, you should come to Boston, you should come to here, you should come to there." So it kind of slowly escalated. Yeah. Yep, I'm still here. So yeah, this is the gap from DVS Skatemore. Over the rail onto the pad.
If you were to skate that spot again, what do you think you would try? It would definitely be something switch, probably, right?
That's tough because it's like you skate switch and your back's to the camera, unless
Nollie?
I don't know. Could be. Depends on the day. Nollie half cab would be sick.
That'd be pretty tight now, like a Nollie frontside 180 or some shit.
Next video part. You might recognize this road from such videos as You Deserve It by Alzheimer's.
Dude, that line was insane. The launch ramp line with all the switch tricks.
It's pretty stressful because the dudes were like, "Hey, you got someone that could build some ramps?" I was like, "I'll build ramps." So me and my brother build the ramps, and we use this like 1/4 inch, like, I don't know, they didn't have 3/8 wood, which is what I wanted to use. So we got these 2 1/4 inch like thin pieces of wood, and I get them all set up. My buddy drives from New York to come film me, go pick up all the ramps at the shop where we built them, and load them in, load them out. I'm like messing around, like kind of just like walling off them basically. And then I was like, "All right, you ready?" And I go to like actually do it. My front wheels go through the plywood. I clip the top of the ramp and literally just I break the whole thing.
Oh my god.
So it's like, okay. So we had a good skate park, the one at the airport I was just talking about. We all helped build it, our parents and our fathers, and we built all the ramps and stuff, and it was a really good park. So a lot of teams that would come to Massachusetts would be like, "We got to go to the Chatham Park." So there was, I think it was Invisible and Duff's demo, which Invisible was part of this company called 16 Skateboards, which was all skaters under 16 years old. So I remember being a couple buddies like, "We're gonna rip so hard, like we're getting sponsored by 16, and then they were like, "We want a sponsor me tape from you," and that's when me and Chris, we kind of like just got cameras.
The Panasonic. fucking
like mini DV, or it was before mini DV. It was like a fatter. It was in between high 8 and mini DV.
You know, that's all we did every day. You know, and I'd always see him, you know, a few times a year. He'd pop in for Christmas or something like that. Back then, you know, everyone was pretty hyped on somebody from our town, you know, making it. And being who he was, he's super modest, you know. So when he'd come back, it wouldn't be like, oh, there's a celebrity around or anything. It's just ZERED, so.
We got cameras, made a video, and they started sending me boards. So that was my first sponsor. I was 16. Went to World, was getting a few boxes from World. And at that time, I was skating Boston a lot. I was probably 14 or 15. And I was skating a lot with Brian Brown. And his brother, Doug Brown, filmed a lot, and he lived with Steve Nardone, the guy I would go and stay with.
Oh, wow, okay.
So he started filming me a lot in Boston. He gave the tape to Jeff Pang at Zoo, so I started getting Zoo boards. That's where Zoo York started for me, was through going to Boston and filming with Brian's brother.
Skating the harbor, right?
Yeah, skating aquarium and yeah, all the spots in Boston, yeah. But yeah, the aquarium was like a super famous spot back then. Like influence, like my first, like I didn't know videos, I didn't know there was being pro or any of that stuff. I remember there was a couple older guys in town that I would see when I'm driving through town with my mom, like carrying skateboards, and they were like not the old school boards, they were the new school shape, nose and tails. It was like Corey, and there was just some older kids that I'd seen walking with these boards, and I was like, I need to get one of these. Corey Nickerson. And then one of my older friends I used to play hockey with, this kid, Justin Van Tassel, also was trying to get a skateboard at that time. So we ended up both getting boards. And that's kind of when I started skating. I think any art stuff started with when I really started traveling skating. I remember coming back from trips and just have my family being like, where'd you go? What were you doing? And I like, when you're on a tour, it's like there's so much stuff happening. It's like so hard to remember. You need to like get a camera and start shooting photos. And that was like my introduction to any kind of art stuff, was just shooting photographs. And then at that time I was on Zoo, which was a graffiti-based company. Zoo York Soul Artists came from an older graffiti crew called Zoo York Soul Artists that was friends with like Rodney Smith, Eli Gesner. They were skating while these graffiti dudes, so they were all kind of mixing together, and they started Zoo York from this graffiti crew. So yeah, then I was on Zoo York, so I'd go to the office all the time, and there was just graffiti dudes coming through, and all their graphics were very heavy on the graffiti side, and that was definitely like my first introduction to like graffiti and a lot of different art, like an outlet. Like we'd go, Dave Ortiz was like the team manager way back. He did, later he did Dave's Quality Meats. So he would be all like, he'd be cutting out cardboard stencils, and we would spray paint shirts, and he used to write meat, M-E-A-T with a backwards E and a chicken bone was his like tag. Oh, yeah. So we were making all these t-shirts, and that was definitely an eye-opener just to that whole side of things. And yeah, just being around it was super interesting. Stay High 149 would come in all the time. I remember just seeing his character was just like the stick figure smoking a joint. So I like made this little stick figure. I was like, the dude Dave was like, you need your own character. So I drew this little stick figure with like 2 middle fingers, and that was like my little character. But then that kind of put my brain into graffiti, and was just kind of start noticing it a lot more. But that was my first introduction after like shooting photos to art.
He made you that fucking jean jacket too. You remember that?
Yeah. Dave like painted me this jean jacket. That's pretty epic. Dave Ortiz. Oh, it was sick. I still have it.
Did Paper Skaters come first, or did Dr. Z come first?
No, I was doing graffiti first. Actually, the skate park I was talking about at the airport, I had like a Dr. Z fill-in on before I knew what a fill-in was, which I need to find a photo, because I was like...
Yeah, there's some...
But so then, yeah, I kind of got it. I was doing graffiti, just traveling and like seeing the same people I'd see in New York. I'd go to be in Hong Kong, and I'd see like Malvo tags and like Katsu tags, and I'm like, I see these tags all over New York City. I was like, wait, and it started really making sense. Like, oh, these dudes travel and just paint. I was like, I'm traveling. Like, I want a whiteout marker or something. So that really kind of connected the dots of like, oh, they travel everywhere and they write the same thing. And the first time it ever made sense to me was traveling through skating. So I was doing graffiti first. The paper skater stuff was after, because I was just in New York and I'm seeing all these wheat pastes. I'd see the same wheat paste all over the place. I'm like, wait, so these guys draw on paper and paste it up? And I'm like, I'm gonna use my photographs as my graffiti. And it kind of hit me, and that's where the paper skaters thing kind of really came together for me, which was years after like traveling and just the little whiteouts here and there. And
there's a progression, a slow progression.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, kind of, this is cool. I think we could do this.
Yeah, just one thing leads to the next, and I don't know, graffiti is super fun, but I'd do something and I'd look at it and I'd just be like, why'd I do that? Like, I was never impressed by what I was doing. So then I'm using the photography with the wheat paste stuff. I'd do something and I'd look at it and I'd be like, holy shit, that looks fucking sick. Like, it's the first thing I like did that I was proud of.